Hello, this is NUSensei, and you are watching One Finger Death Punch. What is it, and is it worth a shot? Before we begin, I want to point out that this is the second game that I've played that has featured this theme song. This is in fact the second video I've made which features this theme song. Now, this theme song, for those who are wondering, I want to kind of download it or view it somewhere. It's from Pierre Langer, and it's called Call for Heroes. You can search it on YouTube. I'll put a link in it in the comments below. But I don't know if it's a free to use track of stock music, but it's pretty epic. The other game that uses this title song is Recovery, Search and Rescue Simulation, which is one of the worst games ever. So the better question is One Finger Death Punch worthy of using this title song? And in short, the answer is yes. This game is a great game. I mean, look at it. One Finger Death Punch. I mean, between Recovery, Search and Rescue Simulation, which is a pretty generic title, and One Finger Death Punch, this game has by far the better title. It's made by Silver Dollar Games. It's an indie game, and in short, this is what I consider to be an indie game done right. It's released just today, I believe, or a couple of days ago, and it costs about $4 on Steam. It's a very cheap game, and this is one of the reasons why this game is good. It's cheap. A lot of indie developers, especially the ones who are pretty scrupulous, they would charge you a lot of money for a basically incomplete game. This game is complete. This game is fun. This game is easy. Now, something to consider is the background art for this game is probably a lot better than the actual graphics. And the actual graphics look like this. That's right. It's a stick figure game. And in fact, one of the tooltips you see in this game is from the developers. They say, look, a good game, especially an indie game, is built on gameplay and not graphics. And they take this philosophy to the extreme. It's actually a nice game. I mean, the graphics don't look bad. They look simple. They look very colorful and flashy, and it's just right. This is good execution. Simple gameplay mechanic, but good execution. So, without further ado, let's have a look at the gameplay. Now, the game has no story whatsoever. And if you want story, this is not the game for you. What it does have is a ton of levels. And we'll go to that a bit later. The premise of the game is basically you are this stick figure fighter and you are kicking ass. It's such a simple game. Now, some of us, I mean, I grew up watching Kung Fu movies, and I loved them. But I also grew up watching Kung Fu stick figure flash movies, like Stick Fighter. Yeah, it's just so. I mean, at the time when Flash was the big thing, Flash Kung Fu fighters were like the big thing. It was just so catchy and well choreographed. And this game just reminds me of those days, having this flash animations. Look at it. It's pretty sick. It's so, like I said before, the graphics are simple but well executed, and this is the exact gameplay you see. What you see here is this is one of the simplest mechanics you could possibly make. I mean, I think the genre is simple, complex games. Now, it looks flashy, but the controls are very simple. You have two buttons, left click and right click. Now, you can actually use B and N and left and right on the keyboard, but the game's primarily played with the mouse. The game is a beat 'em up, but the premise of this beat 'em up is not button mashing. This is the design uniqueness of this game. The developers understood that for most players, beat 'em ups involve button mashing. You just mash the same button over and over again to do combos and fight enemies. And in fact, when they tried this game, from what I've read on the description, that a lot of players who tried this game kept on button mashing, which is not hard. They didn't want a game to be a button masher. This game is meant to be based on patterns, it's meant to be based on combos and timing. So you get punished for mashing buttons. So this is what happens. There are basically two sides. There's left and right sides, and your mouse buttons correspond to the side. You hit the mouse button that corresponds to where the enemy is standing. So once the enemy stickmen enter that particular side, you hit that button and you execute your attack. Most enemies, say the grey enemies, get killed in one hit, which is the premise of the game. They die in one hit, but then there are other enemies which are more difficult to kill. You've got some enemies which take multiple hits, so you need to click multiple times. There are some enemies which swap sides, so you hit them on the right side, they dodge, go to the left side, and then get back to the right side, and you have to put in the right order. Some enemies require this one-on-one mini game where you have to execute a series of combos and get it right. And the key is the game's pace is frantic. I'm talking like this is not me speeding the gameplay up. This is the game at full speed. Now, one of the things that if you beat the levels, you actually get an increase in speed, so it becomes more challenging. Now, if it's still hard for you, if you lose a level, you can replay it and the speed goes down. So it's this dynamic difficulty. There are multiple difficulty levels which you have to unlock, but even the base student beginner mode is still very challenging because of the speed. 200% speed is pretty crazy. Yeah, you can see this is pretty close to it. And it's insane. I mean, it didn't take me long to learn the game, but it took me to realize how important it is to not button mash. Even if for so many enemies on screen, you don't button mash. It's all about kind of planning ahead. It's all about planning ahead. And once you do it right, you execute the good combos, it just looks fantastic. So, yeah, you have to fight enemies on the other side. You do not move at all. Your character does not move, it stays in the middle. The character moves with your attack. So if you attack to the right, it moves right. You attack to the left, it moves left. And movement actually has a small part to play because you might want to pick up things like weapons, which you can't physically move, so you have to attack in the right direction to get there. Apart from that, you have a health bar. So if you get hit, then you lose health. And if you miss an attack, you might be able to get away with it, but most of the time, if you miss an attack, it leaves you wide open to an enemy to attack you. So you can only be hit a certain number of times. You also get rewarded with medals based on how many times you miss. So you get a platinum for 0 misses, a gold for 1 to 3 misses, and so on. And that's basically the gameplay. 2 buttons, attack left or right, do combos, get your score and rating, and that's most of the game. What makes this game so fun is the incredibly high replay value. There's just so many levels. And then there's survival mode as well. And then there's multiple difficulty levels. There's just so many missions that, even though it's mostly the same, the gameplay is so simple and addictive that you can sit down and play this for hours. I mean, each level only takes, a couple of minutes at most. The levels have enough variety as it is. You have mob levels, which you have to beat like 150 enemies. You have multi-round levels, which involve the same level but increasing speeds. You have weapon levels like light sword and nunchuck levels. You have boss fights. You've got thunderstorm levels where you can't actually see what's happening. You can only see the button inputs. You've got retro mode, which is kind of this cheesy, 1970s kung fu movie kind of sound effects, and it's just it's simple but creative. Even the fighting itself, there's a lot of variety. I mean, you don't need so much in terms of combos and skills. You just have to hit left or right, but the action on screen reflects what you do, and it's so simple to execute these flashy moves. I mean, on the barest, you know, basics, you have like your punches and kicks, which are automatic. But then enemies have weapons, and you can pick them up. And if you pick up a weapon, you actually have longer range, so you have more time to react to enemies. And I actually lost there. But if you lose, it doesn't matter. You just replay the level. It's actually really easy. There's no punishment for that. And it shouldn't be. This is a game where you don't want to be punished. This is a game where you just want to have fun. So you can pick up weapons. So you have melee weapons like swords and spears and maces and big spiky balls. And they sound funny. They sound like, you know, all the swings and boings. It's just really fun. Then you have range weapons. You have bombs, you have throwing daggers and bows and arrows, which can one-hit enemies. And you can have a skill which increases your ammunition. So you kill an enemy, pick up the weapon, and you shoot across the screen and take out like more difficult foes. And you have things like this this ball of death, which you can kick, and you can basically bounce it around like a soccer ball and kill enemies indefinitely. But you have to juggle it. Which is really hard when you're being rushed at both sides by hundreds of enemies. That's the game. And other than that, it's about getting high scores and dealing with faster speeds. But then you get this really cool bonus things. Like you have the occasional like power hit, which sends you across the screen, so you can actually move long distance. You have these close-up slow motion kills. You have like the stick man breaking like snapping limbs, or the X-ray attacks. I mean, it's so inspired by other fighting games. It's almost like Mortal Kombat with stick figures, but without the fighting part. It's just the left and right click part. And this is an example of a boss fight. So the boss will alternate between different enemies. So the input's different. So now I have to kill multiple times. It changes color. That means it will change its inputs. And while there is a set number of enemies, you don't have to memorize their colors. All you have to do is look at the bottom of the screen, or the bottom of their feet, to see what input you have to do. So blue means left, red means right, and you just have to input that combination. And again, there's this one-on-one scene where you input the right combination of combos. And this is the game. You can see that there are like mini brawlers and bosses with crowns in their head. And you have to input these commands, and everybody else you need to input the right order, and that's it. The visual effects are pretty gory for Stick Fighter, and you have this really this gimmicky backdrop where like the game will drop like indestructible items in the background using like cranes and chains like that. And like when the enemies get knocked into it, they get smashed up. You get like things like fruit carts and crates. You get weapon drops, and you get this, I don't know, it just looks so cool. Like they're punching the heart out of the chest. That's the visual effects are flashy and simple and well done. The music is simple again. I've only a few tracks, but very catchy. The sound of the beat 'em up sound effects are there. There is a bit of retro in it, just the feeling of a good beat 'em up game, which we don't see too many of these days. And especially a game like this, where the indie developer has the courage to actually make a simple game release on Steam. And I've said this before, a lot of developers would kind of cheat the customer by overcharging for a very simple game. This game always undercharges. It's actually, in my opinion, too cheap. I would pay more for this. Now, don't get ideas, Silver Dollar. Like, this is good because it is cheap. But look, I can easily justify spending like $3 on a game. It's like an arcade game. You spend more money in the arcade than you do on this game. In fact, I forgot to even charge it on my PayPal. I had like, you know, $6 on my PayPal on my Steam wallet, thanks to trading cards. I mean, this is worth like, you know, a trading card. That's how cheap the game is. So it's worth it. You have this skill which you can unlock by going around the map, And they're basically just power-ups. You have like extra daggers or extra durability for your weapons. Or my favorite is once you get to the number of kills, it changes all enemies on screen to grey enemies. This is talking about difficulty. You get like hit points. Most missions have 5 hit points, but in this mission you have 1 hit point. And this is the challenge. This one's great. You have to defeat like these enemies, like 17 enemies, without getting hit, and later missions get harder. The more you go across the map, the harder it becomes, and you have to defeat more enemies. You have to defeat more enemies in a time limit, and it's not hard. This is the big thing. The game isn't difficult. It's challenging. It's just right. This game doesn't punish you for making mistakes. In fact, look, I'm a perfectionist. I'm also Asian, so that kind of goes hand in hand. I have to be perfect, but after replaying the same level about 20 times, I've learned that you don't have to be perfect. In fact, I didn't realize there were so many levels in the game. And with this many levels, you don't need to be perfect. You just want to survive. If you want the high scores and the gold medals, go for it. But it's not a requirement. In fact, if you try to be perfect, it becomes less fun. So, enjoy the game. Just beat the crap out of stickmen. Use swords and stab them, impale them, like knock their brains out. This is the game where you can just simply load the game, I wouldn't say mash buttons, but click very carefully with good timing, and be rewarded with a lot of flashy moves, a lot of action, and lots of replay value. Now this could go on forever. Like I might do a let's play of this just because, especially on the Grandmaster, I haven't unlocked the high difficulties yet. I'm just curious what the high difficulties would be like. But this is such an easy game to play through. I mean, I've reviewed indie games which haven't had that replay. It's just been very long and tedious. But this game, One Finger Death Punch, this is a game, I wouldn't say it's a must buy, but if you have a couple of dollars, get this game. I mean, this game, you can almost play it as a mobile. It's just so simple, straightforward that anyone can play. It is challenging, but if it's too hard, then you can drop the speed by losing, I guess. But the game will adjust to your skill level, so it's not too easy, it's not too hard, and it is satisfying. The game rewards you for skillful gameplay by letting you do really fast levels and really cool combos. And again, with this, I don't know how many levels there are. The map is so big that there are tons of single player missions. And then there's survival mode, so if you want to go for the indefinite last launch you can, then there's that too. So overall, is this game worth a shot? The answer is without a doubt, yes. So if you're curious, check the game on Steam. It's called One Finger Death Punch by Silver Dollar Games. The lightsaber mission too, here we go. And look, it's fun. I didn't expect to enjoy this game. I just bought it because it looked kind of cool. I was sucked in by the trailers and the sound effects, and I was not disappointed. So, take it from me, this game is definitely worth a shot. This is NUSensei, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Platinum medal awarded.